let's just make sure we're on. All right, we're good. And we got, let's see, there's our laser point. All right, fantastic. All right, thank you all for being here, all the mentors for being here. I'm Bobby.
I'm Alex Durant.
I'm Teresa.
And our mentors are Caleb Hurst and Dave Parker over there. If you guys could wave your hands. Thank you very much.
All right. So just want to talk about a little bit of site overview right now. So we're located in Chesapeake, Virginia, and the site soils are pretty poor. Also, the site slopes are less than 2% on most of the site. The address is located right off of George Washington Highway, and the site acreage is about 17 acres. There were no wetlands on site, and we're not in a 100-year flood zone, so we didn't really have to worry about anything along those lines. Also, no trees or brush on site to clear. Okay, so site SketchUp. This is what the site could possibly look like. As you can see, there's a lot of amenities on site. There's an access road from George Washington Highway into a loop-in parking structure on site. As you can see, there's a gym, community center, pool, community garden, playground, basketball courts, tennis courts, skate park, and even an ATV course on site. So there's a lot of features. Also around the site, there's a walking trail, and this is about a half-mile on site, and then it goes into another half-mile trail on the south of the site that's already developed. So here's the center of the site. There's also a pavilion, which can be used for many activities such as bands coming in and maybe just a good place to hang out. So on to the east of the site, as you can see, there's the skate park, basketball courts, and tennis courts. And I'd like to point out the sanitary sewer pump station, which we had to put in because of how flat the site was. The reason why we chose this location is to minimize the appearance, I guess really not show the location to the users of the site. Also to the north, there's an access point from the walking trail to the northern community. And then on the west of the site, as you can see, community gardens, playground, really just fun for the whole family. So also want to talk about some of the requirements from the city of Chesapeake. They wanted a sustainable stormwater design where possible, and also BMP ponds should take up 12% of the area. As mentioned before, there's great walkability and circulation on site, and it's really just a nice site design.
Okay. Well, the site is zoned A1 for agriculture and conservation. There are some regulations that go with that. There are parking regulations as far as number of parking spaces for both the indoor and outdoor facilities, as well as ADA regulations. There's also a minimum lot frontage of 120 feet, a minimum width of 150 feet, and a minimum area of an acre. And the site covered all those criteria. We also placed 30-foot setbacks for each building, and less than 35% of the site is covered by structures. So there are some water and sewer connections to the east side of the site. Let's see. So of the 16.8 acres of land, 5.5 of those acres are green area, and 11.3 acres are developed in some way, whether it's the roadway, the facilities, or the stormwater ponds. The design speed of the parking area is 10 miles an hour based on traffic analysis. There are also stop signs placed at each of the intersections, and all the ADA regulations were met as far as number of parking spaces, as well as the slope of the parking spaces being less than 2%.
All right, thank you, Teresa. So moving on to the grading plan, this was definitely the most challenging part of this development, as it was a very flat site. So we had a lot of iterations, and we ended up at this final grading plan. Essentially, our goal with this was to minimize the amount of cut, because we knew that if we didn't do it right, we could have gone overboard with the amount of cut that we would have just to drain the site. So we have it broken up into 4 quadrants. You can see for the square part of this site right here, we have 4. These blue circles here are low points. not all, these aren't just the only inlets, but these are the main inlets. The red lines depict high lines across the site, so you can think of water flowing perpendicular to all of those lines. And in this way, we were able to segment it up where we didn't have to have water flowing across the entire site to be picked up by inlets. And as you can see, we were successful in reducing our net difference to about 2,700 cubic yards of cut, and all of that cut will be used in the ATV course, which will be graded by an ATV specialist, I would assume. All right, moving on to stormwater management. As far as the inlets go, we had normal curb inlets, drop inlets, and filtera inlets, which were used to fulfill some of the sustainable stormwater policies that the city of Chesapeake wanted. On the right here, you can see just a general layout for these inlets in order to make sure all the water gets treated before it goes into the storm system. Additionally, as mentioned before, we have got 3 ponds, smaller. They're more aesthetically pleasing that way. We wanted to break up our stormwater management facilities on site. Additionally, we have grass swales in the center of the site where filtera units were not an option in order to maintain some level of treatment of stormwater as well as groundwater infiltration. As far as the calculations goes, technically, we use the rational method to determine our runoff values and hydrograph overlays of our pre- and post-development hydrographs to determine the minimum volumes for all of the ponds. As far as utility crossings goes, it could have been kind of a mess. We were able to minimize our crossings to 1 sanitary sewer and water line crossing and 1 water line and stormwater crossing. You can see the crossing locations here. The stormwater pipe goes right about up and down through here. And we were able to maintain all of the depth, the amount of leeway between, the cover between the pipes. Thank you, Alex. All right, moving on. Sanitary sewer.
So moving on. Our sanitary sewer pipes were sized at 8 inches, made of PVC. The pipe layout is pretty linear to minimize cost. There was 1 section required for a force main. That's just because of site slopes. And to meet the minimum velocity of 2 feet per second, we applied a 0.39% slope on all pipes. The peak flow was determined to be 185 gallons per minute, and this was determined based on fixture counts of the community center, gym, and swimming pool. The peak use should be approximately 200 people. So moving on to water lines and fire protection, most of the system was comprised of 10-inch cast iron pipe, with the exception of 6-inch cast iron pipe for fire hydrants. Again, this services the pool, community center, and gym. So the total fire flow demand was determined to be 1,300 gallons per minute, and the city of Chesapeake requires 1,000 gallons per minute. So we were far beyond that requirement.
Okay. Well, for the phase 1 of erosion sediment control, it deals mainly with earthwork. So we have 2 stockpiles on site. This is the organic stockpile, and the inorganic stockpile is here to the north of the site. We place the organic stockpile to the west because a lot of that organic soil is going to be used for the playground and the community garden, which are to the west of the site. And then the inorganic soil, the extra soil, will be used for the ATV course, so that soil is placed there to not have to move it quite as much. The runoff of the site goes from northwest to southeast. So we place these diversion ditches here to pull the water towards the sediment trap, which we have here, and the sediment basin, which is right down here. The second phase of erosion sediment control deals a lot with the stormwater. So here is our stormwater pipe network. At each of these inlets, we place inlet protection, and we also have some temporary and permanent seeding, which are sustainable measures in which the city of Chesapeake wanted. So we have some temporary seeding here to the north and to the east, and then to the south there's permanent seeding. The total cost of the project is $3.5 million. That consists of demolition, pavement, stormwater, sanitary sewer, water supply, traffic costs, earthwork, erosion sediment control, and recreational facilities. The recreational facilities consist of the skate park, the the tennis courts, the basketball courts, and the playground. The swimming pool and the 2 buildings are separate from the project, so they were not priced in the estimate.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Any questions?
So,
Questions?
do we have any questions? Not at all. We covered absolutely everything.
I'm going to pick on Dave and Caleb. You guys can't let them go without a question.
Yeah, Teresa. All right, well, that's I don't know. That's a good sign.
What was the
Absolutely.
initial scope of the project?
The initial scope of the project was as far as what the city of Chesapeake wanted.
Yeah, what were your requirements to prepare for this?
Our requirements were to provide the gym, community center, swimming pool, tennis courts, basketball courts, and the skate park. We added in the ATV course. That was kind of a conditional thing. The community garden, we thought of that as we were going along when we realized we were going to have a lot of excess organic soil. The playground was also required.
The only things that weren't required were the community garden and pavilion.
Yeah.
The ATV course, right? That was a contingency.
That was just based upon the space that we had. So we tried to make best use of those as we could when we were going through.
All right. And, we actually have one.
Yes, we do. We do have one more slide here. Dave, would you stand up, please? So last night we went out to dinner. We had great conversation. We met these guys' families, their wives, and we were talking about cars a little bit. Dave was telling me about how he had the opportunity recently to drive a Lamborghini around a track down in Disney World, which is one of my dream cars. So he's talking about how he's taking this around corners. It's got some S-turns in the middle of the track, and I'm thinking, man, this guy must still be in his mid-20s. It's actually his birthday today, so can we all please give a round of applause to Dave. Happy 29th birthday! Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm sure you're going to get one of those too, Dave.